a few years back, there was a story going around online about a congregation where they had just called a new pastor, and the new pastor's first Sunday came, and they didn't see the pastor. Service starts like at 9 o'clock. It's 9, 9:05, 9:10, 9:20, and they're going, "Where's the pastor? Where is he?" Now, someone had shown up that day to worship that was new. It was a homeless gentleman who showed up in his rags and dirty and everything else. And the congregation looked at him and said, "Would you sit over here, away from everybody else?" And then no one talked to him. Just left him by himself. And they waited and they waited and they waited. And eventually the council president decided, well, I guess we should have worship. And started worship and went through the whole beginning part of service and had our confession and everything else. And it got time for this sermon. And he didn't quite know what he was going to do at this point because being, not prepared, didn't know what to do. So he went there to try to start maybe saying something when all of a sudden, a homeless guy stands up and walks up to the pulpit and he's going, "Oh, no. What is he going to say?" And he started reading of Christ saying that there was a preference for the poor. The poor are the chosen, much like in James today. And he asked them how they think they did caring for the poor. As he revealed himself to be the pastor and said this was a test. You didn't do so well. It's easy to read that story, which it turns out maybe was entirely true, but it's a great story to go around for a while. But it's interesting, to read that story and go, man, I'm so glad I'm part of a better congregation than that. I'm so glad we're so wonderful. I'm so glad I'm not. I would do so much better at that test. Would we? Would we really do that? I was recently at the Global Leadership Summit and did talk about leadership. And the daughter of Alan Funt, who did the Candid Camera show, was one of the speakers. And she showed what her favorite one of the segments was, which was a bunch of guys and people got onto an elevator alongside someone who was not part of the crew. And everyone else stood facing the back of the elevator. As the lone regular person stood there going, he joined the crowd. They did it over and over and over again, even with them rotating 90 degrees every time the doors opened. And every single person who went on that elevator with this crew did exactly what everyone else did. And I can sit there and go, man, I wouldn't do that. Yes, I would. We all would. We cave into social pressure around us to say what matters and how to act and everything else. So when we look around and say, okay, how is this person being treated? How does society treat people around us? We just kind of fall into line a vast majority of the time. Growing up, I was always taught that how you dress coming to church really, really matters. You had to look good for church. If the stuff wasn't ironed, if you couldn't look good that day, it was better to just stay home than come to church. If you're going to God's house, you got to look good. Not you have to look good. You make sure you have a good impression from everybody else in that room. Someone else can see you and not you are doing well. Heaven forbid we show up a bit disheveled, realizing that maybe we had a stressful morning. Maybe this whole week has been going well, and I just really need to go there and to see my people and to celebrate my God, but maybe I shouldn't go. Now, it was a lower middle class community, no one extremely rich in the area, but a few guys in suits, a few ladies in dresses, a lot of polo shirts. And then you look around and you had some family members or some families who might show up in their biker gear that day because they came on their bike. Or maybe the clothes had a few stains on them or something else. And you wondered, at this point in my life, what are you doing? Why are you showing up here like this? You should be looking really nice. This is God's house. Forgetting that God says, all of you are welcome. Come on in. Doesn't matter what you're wearing. But come and be a part of this. Come and be lifted up. Of course, then you go to brunch afterwards and you go, hey, did you see what they were wearing today? Did you see that? Come on. Or, oh my goodness, the acolyte today wore tennis shoes. Who would have thunk? Or that one girl, her skirt was a little bit too high for me. How dare she? Come on. What really matters? What matters is that we are brought here together to celebrate the one who made us. What's it matter? Now, it can be easy to say, okay, we should treat everybody equally, right? Whether you're rich or you're poor, whether what you have really nice clothes or really not, we should treat everyone the same. But that's not true either. We're all different circumstances in our lives, right? We need to be treated as the individuals that we are. And also understand that Christ, in today's readings, again, said, I have a preference. I have a chosen people. Now you rich, it ain't you. It's for those who you see as lesser than. Those who can't afford to take care of themselves. For your siblings who are in want and in need, there is where I shall be. And James goes on to say, hey, if you're just saying to people, hey, peace, go home and have a nice dinner and stuff and be filled, but you don't give them the food to eat, that's on you. That's not living out faith. You say to someone who has no home, who has no money, who has no nothing, and you say, go and buy some stuff and make yourself better off. Peace be with you. What have you really done? It's not that works save us. We can never make ourselves worthy of God's love, worthy of salvation, worthy of really anything. But it's in believing, it's in this faith that comes a part of us, infects us, and changes us to say, I have and you don't. That's not good. So let me sacrifice of myself so that you may be lifted up. Now there are times we definitely fall short at doing this. Time we look around and say, maybe this person doesn't quite fit in. This person isn't meeting our high and lofty goals and criteria. As Jesus knows all too well. As this Gentile woman comes up to him, begging for release for her daughter. How hard is it to ask for help? It's really, really hard, isn't it? How many times in our lives do we just sit back and go, I'll take care of this myself. I don't need help from anybody. Or I don't want to take care of myself. I'm too embarrassed to ask anybody for help. Let them know that I am weak and I am struggling. And here she goes to this guy she's never even met, but she has heard great things about. To say, please, please help my daughter. And Jesus calls her a dog. How many of you want to be called a dog today? Is that a good compliment to get? No matter how cute the dog may be, it's really not a good thing. And she responds, but even the dogs get some crumbs from the table. Even though you may not see me as that much, you may see me as less than human, I need something. And you should be the one to give it to me. Interesting, up to this point in the gospel, Jesus basically stayed among all his people. He stayed among the Judeans. He stayed among his usual group. And here, when he is faced with the reality that not just his inner circle is in need of God's love and care, or not just people who look just like him need his care, there's a switch that triggers. And you see him more and more and more after this time out among all the Gentiles, out among all of us, bringing the good news and doing miracles and everything else. It took a moment of self-realization of what was going on, a time where he was confronted with his own behaviors, that he could actually change. I don't know what it was in my life. I had some sort of trigger switch on me a little bit. Sometimes it's a bit loose of a switch. It goes back and forth at times. Thank you. I don't always live up to the ideal. And for me, the ideal person is Mr. Rogers. Won't you be my neighbor, no matter who you are? This ever-present love and care. To say it doesn't matter if you look like you fit in, because you do. It doesn't matter what you wore today. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter anything else. What matters is that you are here. And you are loved. And I am no better than you. We are reminded every day that we are blessed, that we have more than we need, more than we require. At times, we even have more than we want. And we are called continually to love. To not just hold for ourselves, but to give. And part of this also is admitting when we are in need. To let go of facades. To let go of having to look our best all the time. To always have and look like we are needless. But be open and honest with each other in our own suffering, in our own pains, in our own poverty in any way that might be. So we may love and serve each other too. But do not be afraid. Do not worry, but love. For in loving and lifting up all of our siblings, there we live out true faith, and God is present among us. Amen.